All right, what's up, stats classes? This is Monday afternoon. I'm at the house just prepping for the week. And I'm sorry that I'm not with you today and that you have a sub. I'm at a conference. I'm doing a leadership conference once a month. This is our last session, so we're actually wrapping everything up. I'm getting my certificate and saying goodbye to some new friends, so it'll be a bittersweet day. But as far as stats go, let me kind of tell you what this video is going to be about. I am going to solve number 21. We're actually using the textbook, believe it or not. This textbook right here. So if you have this with you, it's probably a long shot. We're going to start using it more. It's a really good book. And you know how math books sometimes, like algebra, pre-calculus, they kind of can feel really tough to kind of work through? Well, as you've noticed, stats is a different type of math class. And that also means it's a different type of textbook. There's some really good stuff in here, and we're going to start using it more. They've got great pictures, great stories. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do number 21, and then what you're going to do as part of your daily submission is you're going to do number 22, number 23, and number 25. And it's just close enough to number 21. And you'll want to, give me good information here. Don't be skimpy. If it just asks like what percent, then that's obvious. Give me the fraction and give me the decimal. But down here, it asks you like do you see any differences? Find conditional distributions, etc. Okay, so I am going to try to use this video to make it all make sense. And then after you finish this bookwork, it's only 3 problems, but they're involved, so that'll take you about a half hour. Then the last hour, you're going to do what is going to feel like a test for categorical variables, but it's more of like a quiz. But I'm going to give you a data set. I actually attached the data set to the assignment. It looks like this. It's called animals. And there's about 80 different animals, and there's about 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 different categorical variables. They're all yes, no's, except for legs. Something either has 4 legs, 0 legs, or 2 legs, or 6 legs, a crawfish. Okay, so even though those are numbers, those are still categorical variables. And I'm going to give you this data set. You need to download it, you need to save it as a CSV file, and you need to upload it into RStudio. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm going to make you make a pivot table, a pie chart, a bar plot, and then ask you a couple percentage questions just as a chance to kind of wrap up our categorical variables. So let's do this textbook stuff first. This will get us started. Number 21, movie genres and ratings. The following table summarizes 1,529 films from 2014-2015 and have classified them into a genre, and they have an MPAA rating. I've always wondered what MPAA rating stands for. What does MPAA rating stand for? Motion Picture Association of America. If you knew that, give yourself a pat on the back. I just learned something. Okay, so the Motion Picture Association of America gives movies a rating. We know these ratings: G, PG, PG-13, R, not rated, NC-17. So this is a contingency table. So what do we have? We have one variable over here. That looks like the genre. And then we've got a variable up top, which is obviously the rating. We've got our totals. Okay. What percent of these films were rated R? That is a marginal distribution question, because what percent of these films, we are using this total here for these films, what percent of them were rated R? Well, there are all the rated R films. So I am going to do 452 divided by 1,529 and get 0.296. So that is going to end up rounding to 0.3, which is 30%. Okay, that's my cat. She's going nuts. So that was 452 divided by 1529. Okay, that was a marginal distribution question. We were hanging out in the margins. Next one. What percent of these films were R-rated comedies? R-rated comedies. This is kind of a blend between marginal and conditional. What percent of these films, so we're going to use the total again, that's going to be on the bottom, were R-rated comedies. And so I go to comedy and R-rated and I find where they meet, and that's right there. So 124 divided by 1529, and you get 8%. 8% of the movies that came out in that year were R-rated comedies. Okay? Let's keep rolling. I think that's also a marginal, more of a marginal distribution than a conditional, but these next two are conditional distributions. What percent of R-rated films were comedies? Okay, so now we're looking at just the R-rated films. That's the condition. What percent of those were comedies? Look how close questions B, C, and D are. They're doing that on purpose to make sure you practice what number goes on the bottom and what number goes on the top. What percent of R-rated films were comedies? Well, R-rated films, there were 452 of those. And which one were comedies? There were 124. So what percent of the R-rated films were comedies? 124 divided by 452, I get 28%. Okay, we got 38, we got 28. All right, and then the last one, what percent of comedy films were R-rated? So now, that's this. We're looking at the comedy films. So comedy films, that is going to have a 312 on the bottom because there are 312 comedy films. And what percent of those were R-rated? 124. So that's going to be 124 divided by 312, and we get 40%. So almost half of the comedies that came out that year were R-rated. Comedies, I guess, because a lot of comedies, has a lot of swearing, sexual humor. So it's like majority of comedies were 40% were R-rated. Okay, so that did a combination of marginal distribution and conditional, and it's all about reading the question slow, identifying your variables, and going from there. And before you jump to the homework, I want to show you one more a piece that's going to be challenging. 22 you'll be great at. 23 you'll be great at. But 25 just says, look what it says. It says, look again at number 23. So you're going to use this table again here. And it says, find the conditional distributions of plans for white students. Find the conditional distributions of plans for minority students. Okay, so it just says find the conditional distribution. So what does that mean? Well, let me just solve it for this one so that you kind of then can transport it to the other problems. If I said, what are the conditional distributions? The conditional distributions of movie genres. Okay, well, what that would be is I would just go for the genre category. So like action, I would just zone in on this here. And so my total would be 101. And so I would do 0 out of 101 would be the G rating. 0 out of 101 would be NC-17, so 0%. Because remember, conditional distributions are always percentages. They're always relative frequencies. So then I would do not rated, I would do 35 over 101 and get that percentage. 1 over 101 to get that percentage. 35 over 101 to get that percentage. 30 over 101 to get that percentage. So like I would go for these genres, I would go piece by piece, but instead of you finding every single one, like that's a lot of division. I think for marginal, for that, well, it does say conditional, doesn't it? Yeah, find the conditional distributions of plans for white students. This one will be easier because it's a smaller graph. So yeah, no worries. So let me teach it like it was normal. You would need to, for action, you would divide all of these by 101 and get their percentages. For adventure, you would divide all of these by 80, get their percentages. For this one, you divide all of these by 312 and get their percentages, and so on and so forth. And then if we went the other way, find the conditional distribution of rating instead of genre. What if we marked out genre and instead we did the rating? Wow, that's horrible writing. Let's just do lowercase. Then that would be going this way. And you would do all of these numbers divided by 23 to get your rating breakdown. You would do all of these numbers divided by 1 to get your rating breakdown, and so on and so forth. Again, that would be a lot for this problem, which is why Excel would do it for us. But for this, it should be no problem because you only have 2 categories and 5 categories, so it won't take you long at all. Okay? So that is conditional distributions. It's talking about you slide in, you focus in on a condition, and you divide by everything by that total. All right, 11-minute mark. Here's my last thing that I'm going to show you. Just a reminder, when you're looking at this spreadsheet and you save it as a CSV, this is the data that you put into R. Don't try to put your pie graphs into R. All you put into R is the raw data, and you'll use R for your bar plots, and you will use Excel for your pie charts. And really quickly, let me show you. Just a refresher. If I wanted to make a quick pie chart, highlight your data, insert pivot table. Let's do new worksheet. There's all my categories. You have to decide what you want. I'll just do something about, let's see, animals that have feathers and whether or not they lay eggs. So then we'll do that. Animals that have feathers, whether or not they lay eggs. Don't use this. This is garbage. You need to copy this and paste it here so that you can clean it up a little bit, like this. And look, Smith, that just says yes, no, yes, no. How am I supposed to know what's what? Well, first, let me get rid of the blanks. I hate when I do that. Get rid of the blanks. Let's do this one. This one's better. Control C. Control V. Control V with Control C. Paste without values. So what you should do, and only you will be able to do this, is this was feathers or not, and then do they lay eggs or not. So I'm going to change the no to, wait, did I do feathers? Yeah, I did feathers. I'm going to change the no to no feathers. Change the yes to feathers. And then this was laying eggs, so I'm going to say no eggs, and then eggs. Okay, don't just leave it as yes or no, or you will have no clue on your pie chart what the heck is going on. You see what I'm saying? So now when I highlight this and I'm ready to do my pie chart, I don't highlight the total. I insert pie chart, and there's my graph for no feathers. I copy, I paste, just paste, and then click this and I toggle to feathers. So I don't know if I picked a great one. Let's see if I did. It's kind of interesting. Every animal with feathers lays eggs, which I guess makes sense. But look at this. There are animals with no feathers that also lay eggs, but most don't. Think that's funny? Oh, she's laughing at her podcast. I just thought she was laughing at me. So then what would you do here? You made this. I'm gonna ask you a couple key questions, and you're gonna have to maybe make some pie charts and come up with some relationships. Also, check this out. I right click on this pivot table. Show values as. Grand total. Puts the total 100 down here and then shows you the grand total. But look, we can do the conditional column totals. See how the bottom now is all 100? That's looking at eggs and no eggs. Or we could right click, show values as row total. Now we're looking at feathers or no feathers. So you're gonna make your pivot table. You're gonna right click on it, go to show values as, and use these here to create some pie charts and some bar plots. You can still copy and paste it just like that, but I think that this has all the information you will need to be successful today. You can work with a neighbor if you need to. Please work hard. Don't make the sub mad, and I'll see you guys next week.